How do you go from a picture where you are here to a picture where you are right there? And for this, you need to understand a few concepts. The first one is the motion of the trail arm, right? So the trail arm could be externally rotated, and that's a shoulder motion. It can be externally rotated like so. And notice what happens when I do that. If I externally rotate my trail shoulder, the elbow moves in closer to the lead elbow, right? So the elbow, sorry, moves in closer to the lead elbow, like so, right here. The opposite motion would be when I internally rotate this shoulder, and when I do that, you can see how the elbow moves away from the lead elbow, right? So the elbows are moving apart. So my description of this would be that you are squeezing the elbows together. And how are you squeezing the elbows together? You're squeezing the elbows because of external rotation of the trail shoulder, like so. And the picture you invariably see from down the line, if you look at a golfer doing this, I'm in position, I externally rotate this shoulder, the elbow gets to a point where the elbow is pointing down to my hip, and the crease in the elbow and the arm, see how it's pointing upwards at this point in time. If I start to internally rotate that shoulder, it goes the other way. So the elbow starts to point back at the camera, the crease is pointing to the target. Notice the effect on the position of the forearms. So I externally rotate the trail shoulder, and suddenly I've squeezed my elbows, and you can see my left forearm above the right forearm, which is the position you see all good players in at impact, right here. Okay, so that's the first really important thing to understand. You need to start to externally rotate that shoulder in order to have the elbows together, which automatically brings that elbow more forwards in front of the hip, which just goes along with this picture you see here. Again, if I started to internally rotate the shoulder, it would lead to this picture right here, which again is a very common picture. The elbows are moving apart, and you start to see a little gap here as golfers come into the ball between the right forearm, elbow, and the side of the golfer right there. So that's the first move. We need to learn to have this external rotation of the trail shoulder. What I would say is sometimes golfers try and do this dynamically.